leaks in Grand Cross are very interesting because usually we actually get leaks like these where, it's something that's about to come out. Oh, in August 11, Ominous Nebula's Outage is going to come out. And he did, right? This was July 22nd. Leaks like these are what we've been getting for the most part, but there's also the more, hidden sort of leaks. The things that we can't just see from looking at the files of the game, something that only one person really has access to and shares with us from time to time, which is the beta app. We haven't really talked much about the beta app for a little while because what we've come to find out is that the beta app of Grand Cross really doesn't always result in things coming out in game. It's more like things that the devs are testing out or things that are going to come out, but a long time from now. If you recall, a lot of times this beta app has been correct. Excalibur Arthur, we got pretty fast after the leak on the beta app. It just so happened that in the beta app, Excalibur Arthur, and again, very fast after the beta app had released, but in the beta app, it was leaked as being the festival, and as we know, he was not the festival, Bond was the festival. So there are things that maybe will happen, but not exactly the way that it says here. And again, the first time we ever heard that the Slime Collab was coming back was from the beta app as well. That was months beforehand too, so we were just waiting, like, when is this gonna come out? God damn it, I'm just waiting. But yeah, some interesting things have come out of it. Again, we haven't had much for quite some time of this, so maybe some of you have not heard of the beta app yet, because maybe you're a new viewer. That's why I wanted to explain this, that these things aren't as concise and as guaranteed as these right here, when we usually talk about these sort of leaks from Twitter here, that come out almost immediately after they're leaked. These leaks are more up in the air, but might come out. Again, Excalibur Arthur is a good example, but also Assault Modesterosa, I saw Beats, the Grand Cross YouTuber, realized that the Assault Modesterosa was leaked a year ago, and he came out on the exact same date that it was leaked, just a year later, but on the exact same date. So it's but beta changes. So the beta have several changes, and most important are these. Number one, transformation. I literally talked about transformations recently and how they have ways of transforming that I don't understand why aren't in game, but or aren't in characters, are in game for the super boss, but aren't in playable characters, right? Heroes can be transformed by passive skills when the hero's HP reaches a certain limit, or when the hero realizes a specific action. The certain limit of HP is something that we've been talking about. Rugal is the best example, because when Rugal drops below 50% HP, he full heals, then he increases his stats, right? And all they had to do was make him transform as well, physically transform, and it would have been really cool. Don't change what he does, just change the physical appearance alongside with the passive, right? Keep the same passive, just change the physical appearance. It would have been so cool, but of course he just gets his buff. Example, when Danny inflicts 6 critical hits, she changes to her giant form, and when she loses HP equal to 25% of her HP, she changes to her human form. That is very interesting. 6 critical hits is a lot. Performing an ultimate was a terrible way to transform, because how we see ultimates, especially in PvP, but how we see ultimates in Grand Cross, it's something more game ending, right? It's when you ult with a powerful ultimate, you expect the game to be, that match to be done, right? And when we're using a transformation character like Aaron or Mikasa, the only two, not Mikasa, sorry, Camilla, the only true transformation characters, they just transform in the ult, and then we were always like, wow, why would I use this when I can use Lost Vein? At the time, Lost Vein was the example, right? Which, Lost Vein, if you didn't have him with full dupes, maybe you wouldn't end the match, but with these characters, if you don't have them with full dupes anyways, the transformation isn't as good, right? But yeah, so Interesting, but this is just an example. I hope that most of the transformations they're working on aren't as specific and long, because 6 critical hits, that's 6 attacks? 6 different attacks could take long, or, you know, if you get lucky and you get like 3 cards first turn, 3 cards second turn, I guess you could transform in 2 turns, but yeah. Skill changes. When the hero uses a certain number of skills, or when the hero realizes a specific action, changes his/her skills. Oh, that's more experimental. This is one of those things I say, right? Like, the devs clearly, you know, try stuff out. Like, the Labyrinth game mode that just came out, they didn't just make it on a whim. They've been testing things out and, you know, seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. They do that quite often, and this might be one of those things where I wouldn't really expect to actually release, but maybe they're testing it out. And hey, if they find a way to make it work in game, might actually release, right? Example: when King uses 3 skills, changes his actual skills for new offensive skills. When King receives damage for 4 enemy skills, changes his actual skills for defensive/recovery skills. That sounds extremely gimmicky. Extremely gimmicky. And now again, when we're talking about transformations, right? One of the worst things about it was how gimmicky it was, because yes, when you transform, the character does become more powerful, but it required an action that was kind of annoying, right? And not only that, they could also turn back to their regular form if you didn't finish the match beforehand. With this, it sounds like maybe your enemy would want to make you have the other cards while you wouldn't want that, right? And stuff like that. If it's like receive damage, because that's something you can't control. Having something you can't control in a character is not very good. Like, one of the reasons why Lost Vein fell off was because he needs to be crit, right? And in the beginning, when he came out, it was very easy to be crit because he had 0 crit resistance. But then Grand Cross gave him crit resistance on his Super Awakening, right? It's a famous shaft. You know, it became something that you couldn't really control because a lot of times you just wouldn't get crit. And this sounds like it, you know? We'll see. If this ever comes out, I'm expecting, if it ever comes out, it's like months from now. If it ever comes out, I would be interested to see how it would work. Pets. Ooh, I had not read this yet, so that's interesting. Pets. This system probably replaces the current patrol system. Your pet completes stages automatically, but sometimes you will have to complete stages with your pet. The pet can level up and the item drops will be better. Pets can't be equipped to your team to complete stages or participate in PvP. Pets can only be used in the system. When I read Pets, I was hoping this would say it would be like Bleach Brave Souls. So I've been playing a lot of Bleach Brave Souls lately. And on that game, you can have pets that you get by completing certain raids. And the pet follows you around while you're playing. I mean, the game system of Bleach Brave Souls is completely different, right? It's like a real-time type thing, while Grand Cross is a turn-based game. But, you know, the pet follows you around while you're running. And I thought maybe you'd have the pet, like, on you in the battle, just there. Like, because the pet on BBS doesn't do anything, it just follows you around. It's just there for, like, show. It's just a cosmetic item. I mean, cosmetics in Grand Cross aren't really cosmetic, but you know what I mean. Cool, I guess. I was hoping it would be something more to those terms, but we'll see if this comes out. We'll see how it goes. I mean, if it's like Patrol, then well, Patrol isn't the most exciting system, is it? Blessing of the Gods. Isn't that in the name of the thing we had on the Liz celebration? The one that would give you buffs? Well, it could be a new system from Last Ragnarok Beast, similar to the Relics. The hero will have another passive that will increase a specific stat. Always you can change the stat using the materials, only you can increase one stat for hero. Oh! Now that's interesting. Oh, this I like. Okay. Okay. if they can make an activity, bro, they can easily tie this to the new activity, the labyrinth. Because listen, if you haven't seen the labyrinth video, I recommend it because it's very interesting. The labyrinth game mode does not require anything. You don't like, it's the most anti-whale game mode ever, because the characters that you already have, your box, nothing matters, right? It's just you go in, you get the character level 1, and you level it up as you go, and you complete the missions as you go. And again, nothing that you have ever done in the game matters. The only thing that matters is your knowledge about the game and making decisions, basically, and a little bit of RNG. A little bit, but healthy RNG. It's not the worst thing ever. It's not like dogs, you know. It's healthy RNG. If they could tie this to the new game mode, it'd be so good, because then people wouldn't complain, right? That it's like super pay to win. And if you can just, again, like I said, with Lost in Meliodas, the fact that they increased the crit resistance, or crit resistance for Meliodas was a big shaft. But for a lot of characters, they need specific stats to be increased, and they become so much better. Like, imagine if you could increase the pierce rate of Trader Meliodas by like 50%, and then you also use Lilia, how hard that card would hit. Like, Trader Meliodas doesn't need it. I'm just making an example because that would be just funny, right? And you can make different builds out of them. Most people probably would go with HP, depending on how it would work, if it would give you CC, because then you give you more CC. Kind of boring. But, because, you know, with the gear system that we currently have in the game, obviously, when you make gears, you always go for attack, defense, HP, except when the character like requires like blue, sorry, not blue, green Valency, for example, right? Good example. You know, she requires resistance for her passive, so you give her resistance, right? But for the most part, you just give them the basic stats. So for the most part, most people would just give them the basic stats, and that's probably how it would work the best. But if they could, you know, I don't know, make this a system that doesn't give you CC as well, then people would be more experimental, and people would actually run other stuff, not just HP or attack, right? Probably more HP. Would love to see how this would work. I mean, I would give my Trader Melee crit chance. That boy needs crit chance for the demonic beasts. But wow, okay. Out of all these, I am very interested in transformations and stuff. Them fixing transformations, because it's something that we've been talking about for since Aaron came out ages ago. But this I think is more interesting to me, because another buff in stat buffing to your own will, if they can make this work, it would be huge. But yeah, let me know what you think about this. Again, maybe half of these would actually release and half won't. And even if they do, it might take some time. But it's good to keep in mind that, you know, the devs are working on something on the beta app. At least something.